In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 examples about how to answer Amazon's interview question: what is the most innovative idea that you've ever had? And for this, I'll also showcase 3 of the 14 Amazon leadership principles: invent and simplify, think big, and frugality. While project manager and software architect for an HR B2B software, I was in charge of both designing new features but also handling the overall project. And I remember that the most significant contribution that I had to this project was to introduce structured hiring as a process in the software, because you see in those days, those early days of data-driven decision making, there was a lot of emphasis on things such as personality profiling tools, and luckily enough, I had enough data to prove that structured hiring would be a viable option in this case. And just to give an example here, I've done this around 7 years ago in a context where Google only launched a structured hiring tool just 2 years ago. Now, truth be said, probably the idea was a bit ahead of its time. However, it did. That tool screened around 100,000 people, and the client retention rate was over 95%. Now, when it comes to a few interesting tips and tricks on how to structure your answer, here are some ideas. First and foremost, make sure that the innovation that you're talking about was beneficial to the business that you were working for. Otherwise, it won't make much sense to talk about it, right? And you can do so by emphasizing the results section of your answer together with the action, of course. Then the second piece of advice here would be that you do not necessarily have to follow the STAR format strictly, in the sense that the action part could be a sequence of innovations. You don't only have to talk about one of them. Also, be sure that, or try as much as possible to link that innovation with your field of activity, such as if you're applying for a software architect, then your innovation must be within software architecture, right? So it makes a lot of sense. And last but not least, if possible, and what I omitted to do from my example, but I could have done it as well, is to say that this type of innovation could also work for the company that you're applying for. So the most recent piece of innovation that I had was right here on my YouTube channel, because you see, what I'm providing here is a recruitment marketing service that is a lot more efficient than if the company would run TV ads, for example. And if in the beginning traffic was only a few hundreds per day, now it's a few thousands, and I'm expecting a lot more in the months to come. And actually, this pretty much turned out to be a full-time business opportunity. So if in the previous example I talked about some tips and tricks that you should do, now let me tell you some things you should avoid here. And first and foremost, avoid talking about ideas, innovative ideas that were refused. So if the idea was refused, then it will put you in a questionable light here. And you cannot negotiate it, because people judge you on your facts here. In order, they judge you on previous performance to predict your future performance. This is the theory of behavioral interviewing. Then the second thing to avoid here is to talk about how your idea could have been implemented in many other ways, or to put any sort of shade into the viability of your idea. Don't do that. Just say it was an innovative idea, and try to showcase your strengths as much as possible here. Then do not add too much detail here, because notice here I didn't even follow the STAR format, simply because I knew that I could tell this story in just 2-3 paragraphs and very effectively. I didn't have to have a situation, a task, an action, and a result. So if you can, if you're feeling comfortable enough, just say it as you think it's best, and so long as you don't forget any major detail, you'll be just fine, because after all, this is also a starting point for a future conversation. One interesting project that I remember, it was around 15 years ago when the internet was just getting started. My first money-making job was to bid on small IT projects, which I would then outsource to other people for a profit. And truth be said here, even if I would have started a proper business at the time, I don't think I would have had the necessary funds to hire people full-time. But I believe it was an innovation because if you're looking these days, most IT companies are huge outsourcing houses. Also, there are different ways to formulate these questions around inventions, and here are some other possible such questions. And also, as always, I hope you found this information useful, and thank you very much for watching.